This is 5240, and we're studying the books of Luke and Acts in 40 days. The missionary advancement of the early church is gaining momentum, and chapter 18 gives us important information about the whereabouts of God's activity. First, we're told that Paul travels 100 kilometres west from Athens to Corinth, another thriving Greek city. Here Paul finds two important characters, a woman named Priscilla and her husband Aquila. They were Jews from Italy who had been forced to leave the country under fear of persecution. Arriving in Corinth, Paul secures work as a tent maker. It seems that often Paul worked in this way to support himself. This is the origin of the idea of the bivocational missionary. Paul initially begins to speak to the Jews in the synagogue, verse 4, but after a lack of success in this endeavour, he says, verse 6, "Enough, I'm going to the Gentiles." A significant statement and shift for Paul in the book of Acts. Paul goes next door to a God-fearer named Titius Justus, who gets saved along with his family. Again, here is another example of the early missionaries fishing with nets rather than single lines, as it were. The whole family comes to faith, as is so often the case in traditional societies. Verse 10, Paul being told that there are other believers unknown to him in the town, reminds me of God speaking to Elijah and telling him, there are many more prophets left, you know. God is at work building his kingdom. We should never assume that we see all that can be seen. Paul teaches in Corinth for a year and a half and then travels by boat back east to modern-day Turkey, where he comes to the very important city of Ephesus. We see in these chapters very clearly the modus operandi of the early missionaries. Go to a city, preach the gospel, make some converts, leave a teaching elder in the city to establish sound doctrine, establish pastoral leadership in the church, and then send off the apostles again to move on to another city to do it all over again. Right now, it's pouring rain outside. I hope this is not affecting the recording too much. Verse 22, Paul travels all the way back to Caesarea, then Jerusalem, and also Antioch, then off again back to the middle of Turkey, known in the first century as Galatia. Back in Ephesus, a city with a big future in the Lord, later its church would become the largest in the world. A new character from Alexandria named Apollos has turned up. The two biggest libraries in the world at this time were found in Alexandria and Ephesus. It would seem that Apollos is a bit of an academic and has been primed by the Lord perfectly in this way throughout his life to play an important role in establishing sound teaching in the church of Ephesus. The multiplication of the kingdom throughout the book of Acts is a masterclass in team building and the importance of giftedness and calling. God has been shaping us our whole life for our next assignment in the shared mission of Jesus. Do you know how you've been shaped? Nothing's wasted in the kingdom. All of your successes and all of your failures have made you the person you are today. God has crafted you, educated you in the school of life, and equipped you for the good works he has called you to accomplish by his grace. Enjoy God's call and enjoy God's word.